Hello, everyone. My name is Barron J, and I am the host of the Giving While Black podcast. You know why we're here to uplift, amplify, and celebrate people of color, Black people who are making a difference in their communities every single day. And I know you're out there making a difference too, and we want to celebrate you. And today we're celebrating someone that we've known, not really, but we're getting to know. And we're so excited about having Dr. Patera here, but I'm going to introduce her a little bit later officially. But I want to tell you about our sponsor of the Business of Giving Studio. In our studio, this is the first podcast that we've had in the studio. So Dr. Patera, you are our very first guest. Yes, so you win a prize. And I'll tell you what that prize is in a minute. But we are sponsored by Pinnacle Bank. And here's something I love about Pinnacle. They believe banking isn't just about dollars and cents, but about people and about communities. And they really care. I've been a part of Pinnacle Bank, have multiple accounts there for a number of years. Mm-hmm. And I see the difference they're making in their communities. Absolutely. And I'm so excited about having Dr. Patera here because Pinnacle is one of their sponsors as well, yep, which is how we kind of reconnected. But before we get started, and she's going to tell you all these amazing things, what they're doing, I have some tea that
it is amazing.
When you come on the show, you're going to be able to sample some of my tea. I make herbal teas and have been for the last couple of years. And I'm just sharing it with the world. Anybody who comes to the studio, and what we have in this cup, and you like the swag there, yeah, in my black. What we have is a pineapple ginger hibiscus tea.
It was so
has
good.
A little bit of honey, has a little bit of cinnamon, has some turmeric, and she drank all of hers already. So, Dr. Patera, do you like the tea?
I love it. It is amazing. It has the perfect blend and hint of sweet, tanginess, and heat from the ginger.
So you got to have that heat from the ginger.
You got to have the heat from the ginger. Yeah. It is amazing.
Well, it's official. My tea is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. And people have said that before, but when you bring a doctor on who does yoga, and we were talking about all that, and she's a health practitioner, you know it must be good.
It's good.
Yeah. Right? So if you come into the studio and you're one of my guests, guess what? You'll get some amazing tea. And we have an amazing guest. And so Dr. Patera, thank you for coming on the show and being our very first guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Like I said, my name is Dr. Patera Foye-Fuller. I am a pediatric nurse practitioner. I serve at Advanced Community Healthcare. I am also the director of pediatrics there. So I have been at Advanced for 5 years. I was fortunate enough to be found by Advanced during the pandemic. So I started there in July of 2020, finally realizing my dream of being able to provide community health care. Prior to that, I was working in a pediatric primary care office. So being able to come into the community health scene has helped me further their mission and kind of develop my own platform with things that I want to do to give back to the community. In my spare time, like you said, I'm also a yoga instructor. I also do barre and Pilates, so I'm able to bring elements of mindfulness to my pediatric practice, which is so super important right now with so many teens and younger children stressed. It gives parents an alternative or complementary therapy to medication. So that's where we are, and that's what we're doing.
That's pretty awesome. First, I've done a little bit of yoga, but not a whole lot. And I've done Pilates. Mm-hmm. You know, I love working out, going to the gym, but probably about 15 minutes in Pilates, I was looking at my watch like,
is it over yet?
Is it over yet? And by, after 60 minutes, I was like, okay, this is a real workout.
And the next day you feel it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a segment called Did You Know, mm-hmm, right, on Giving While Black. And it's brand new to this new season. Did you know, I started probably 6 or 7 years ago meditating. Mm-hmm. And 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, never thought about meditating from that perspective before. but I started reading research.
Hmm.
And it was like 500 medical journals that
Of
talked
course.
about the power of meditation
Right.
related to high blood pressure,
Hmm.
cholesterol, all these different things. I would have had no idea that mindfulness, being quiet,
Being quiet.
makes a difference.
Right.
Tell us about that.
So being able to quiet your mind is typically what people think of when they think of meditation. But we always have to remind people that meditation for me may be different from meditation for you. With
Exactly.
me, it may be with my Bible and prayer. With someone else, it may be with some type of instrumental music playing in the
Yeah.
background. Whatever that scene or foundation is that you need to kind of quiet your mind and separate from things on the
Yeah.
outside, that's where you go,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's on a mat, whether it's on a towel, whether it's in a corner, a prayer closet, what have you, just being able to separate and find your center,
Yeah.
and calm down, like
Yeah.
calm your heart rate, slow your breathing. Whether it's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, a whole hour. I usually encourage people to start small
Yeah.
because it sounds pretty simple, but to separate for 5 minutes, it can be difficult. 20 minutes, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So most people start with a few minutes and then they gradually work up.
I've had people who they knew that I practiced meditation,
Mhm.
and I'm so glad you mentioned there's different methodologies,
Mhm.
obviously, and different ways to do it. I like the quietness. That's where I get peace from,
Mhm.
right? I don't have any music in the background, but I know one of my good friends, they have to have music in the background,
Right.
and I like the flexibility of it. One thing that I would do, I'll tell people about meditation, and they said, "Oh, Bear, I want to learn how to do that."
Mhm.
And we'll sit down just like we're doing here, and they couldn't last more than like 2 or 3
Right.
minutes because
It's
it's tough.
difficult. It is.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
you really do have to train yourself to be disciplined
To
to spend
separate. You
that
gotta
time.
separate from your thoughts.
Yeah, because we're thinking about so many things all the time. It's
Right.
hard for us to rest our mind and relax our minds.
Right.
So tell us about how you do that with children.
So, children, one of the techniques that I like to implement in the office and practice, particularly with my children who are struggling with the stress response,
Yeah.
right? So, parents, when they're asking me what it means or they're giving me the symptoms and we're trying to tease out exactly what the child has going on, I always explain stress unaddressed leads to anxiety, a
Hmm.
whole diagnosis, right?
Stress unaddressed leads to
Stress
anxiety.
unaddressed leads to
Okay.
anxiety. So when we meet them on the forefront of these stress symptoms, racing heartbeat, pain in my chest, stomach pain in the morning, when they start to have somatic symptoms from things that they're dealing with mentally and emotionally, it's stress, right? So when they come in with that as their chief complaint, I like to teach them deep breathing techniques,
Okay.
right? So whether the child is 4 or 14, I can teach them diaphragmatic breathing, meaning that you inhale for a count of 4, and we do it in the office. Breathe in.
Can we do it
Hold.
now?
Yes, yes, yes,
Let's
yes. So
do it.
sitting up nice and tall. Just relax. You can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. So, all right, here we go. On a count of 3, we're going to breathe in for a count of 4. So 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold briefly, and then breathe out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe whole. Breathe out. 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's that simple. It's
That's
that
simple.
simple.
Yeah.
And you can be in a classroom, and some children have that stress response with the mention of a test,
Yeah.
the mention of, "Hey, Sally, can you read? Come up to the board and show us how to work out this problem." That can send a child into a tailspin,
Yeah.
right? That they don't want to be viewed as different. No
Yeah.
child does, right? They don't want to be called out. They don't want to be seen as special or needing something to cope.
Yeah.
So I teach it to them as a method that they can utilize, and no one knows you're doing it, but it's effective. It
Yeah.
immediately calms your heart rate, research study approved,
Yes.
right?
I
Um,
read it. I read
it
that.
brings your
Yeah.
heart rate down. When you have that stress response, you get hormones dumped into your system, which causes your vessels to contract. So being able to breathe and calm down lowers your blood pressure, lowers your heart rate, lowers your breathing, and just gives you an overall feeling of peace. So
Yeah.
it's effective.
Yeah. And I love to incorporate with prayer myself,
Yep.
which is awesome.
Yes.
So I can talk about meditation
All
all
day.
day because it's so powerful and it's taught me so many things. Even when you have these feelings of anxiousness, and we all feel them from
Always.
time to time,
Hmm.
you learn how to manage it better.
Right.
Especially if you're a public speaker, if you have fear around public speaking,
Right.
and you can learn these techniques and it can really help
And
you.
be effective. Yeah,
Yeah.
because our body has incorporated the fight or flight response, right? And it's to keep us safe.
Yeah.
So when you feel a sense of danger, you run. So it gives you that adrenaline rush to get you out of there. But when it works against you is when it comes when there is no imminent
Yeah.
danger. And you're just anxious or you're feeling a little scared. So it's definitely a tool that I try to implement in my practice.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Thank you.
So tell me about your practice because Advance does a lot of different things.
Yes, a lot of great things.
A lot
Advance
of
is on the
great things.
moon.
Yes. Tell us all those wonderful things that Advance does.
So, at our Southeast Raleigh campus, which I consider our main campus, we provide comprehensive healthcare services. So it's like the Target of medicine. It is your one-stop shop. That is our main campus, our original campus. So we have pediatric primary care, we have adult primary care, we have nutritionists on site for nutrition services. We have an amazing team of licensed clinical social workers for our behavioral health team. New to us is our OBGYN, which is downstairs, and we just opened that this year in 2025. And we also have an on-site pharmacy.
Mm,
So one-stop
great.
shop, you can get everything there. And most recently, we have started to expand. We have about 14 different clinic sites in Wake and Franklin County. 14. So all of them do not have all of the services, but we're gradually expanding to include as many of those comprehensive services in our outlying clinics to touch people in more distant areas.
Yeah. So you're merging with other small facilities?
So not merging. So we have acquired
Acquired.
a few
Okay,
other
okay,
practices.
okay.
Yes.
I hear you. I hear you.
So yeah, we have acquired a few practices. Most recently, Starlight Pediatrics in Holly Springs is now under the Advanced umbrella. So that was an acquisition in about August of 2024. So what that has allowed us to do was to have a pediatric practice under the Advanced umbrella. It's Advanced Peds, Starlight name as they originally were in Holly Springs. So able to expand our reach and our mission of Advance to Holly Springs, which is 35, 40 minutes away from our primary site. And that's the goal with all of our clinics, to touch different populations in different areas and give them the services that they need, because the demographic is different in all of those areas, but the mission of Advance is the
It's the same.
same.
And part of that mission was on display when we were at the gala. The fundraising event is where we kind of reconnected.
Mhm.
And there was two young men, and I believe both of them had autism.
Both of them were diagnosed early on in life with autism and ADHD.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
And that's for people who don't know what that is. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So you're probably more familiar with autism by itself or ADHD by itself, but a lot of times they are diagnoses that exist together in children.
Yeah,
So if you have a child or have been around a child that has either or, it can be pretty challenging.
yeah,
So now imagine both. So
yeah.
those we call comorbid conditions. They usually exist together, and you have the symptoms, they're compounding, and both still require treatment.
Yeah.
Right. Autism, if you're familiar, spectrum is broad. So you can have a child that tells you they have autism and you're like, oh, well, I never would have guessed that. And then you can have a child that has autism and, it's more obvious, right? So my two patients that you met at the gala, I've known them since they were toddlers,
Really?
right? So about 15 months.
Wow.
And now they are like in second, third
Yeah.
grade, right? So they have followed me from one clinic to another.
Yeah.
I'm very close with the family, and it has been a challenge. Prior to meeting them in my first clinic, they had a lot of challenges navigating the healthcare and just getting those comprehensive services to not only address primary care, but a provider that was going to look beyond that and make sure all their other needs were met and help them navigate, help grandmother navigate the healthcare system.
Yeah.
So that is advanced in a nutshell, right? We provide comprehensive services, and if we can't do it in our clinic, we help make sure that you have the resources and the education to get where you need to go.
And that night in particular was interesting because they invited the mom to come and share her story,
His grandmother.
the grandmother, and
Mhm.
she was amazing. She really was.
She is.
And you can just tell she loves her grandchildren so much.
Mhm.
And the young men came up. I used to work at Big Brothers Big Sisters. So I've seen a lot, right, with kids,
Right.
And so one of the brothers came up and he just started dancing.
Dancing.
He was just full, he was in full entertainment mode, right?
Yep.
And then the other one, he was not doing the same thing, but you can just tell
the energy.
Yeah, the energy in that particular moment. And then this lovely doctor walked on stage and she just put her arms around them. And I don't think they moved again. And it was, and everybody noticed it, right? Like, wow, how's that work?
Gentle touch.
Yeah, gentle touch. And it was so powerful because you wasn't disciplining them
Not
at all.
Mm-mm.
It was just that relationship that you've developed
It's a
with
trusting
them,
relationship.
that trusting, that
Mhm.
respect, and it was powerful in that moment. And
Mhm.
afterward, my wife and I, we went to speak with the grandmother saying hello.
Mhm.
And then God bless you for the work that you're doing
Thank
in the
you.
community. And the question I asked you was, you have children?
Yes.
Because my thought is, I love my kids, right? But I don't necessarily want to be around kids all day,
Mhm.
right? And that was my question to you. And you were like, yeah, I have children, but I'm still this and a
Right.
pediatrician. Why did you decide to become a pediatrician?
So nurse practitioner.
Nurse practitioner.
Mhm. A nurse practitioner. So I always wanted to do medicine.
Okay.
Always wanted to do medicine. What capacity that was going to be, I did not know. But I always knew that it was going to be with children,
Okay.
right? Children are innocent souls. They
Yeah.
are very honest. I love the compliance of children. I love the energy of the children. I love that you get to advance and grow with them through stages. So working in pediatrics, I get them when they come out of the hospital at 2 days old as a newborn. I get to go through toddler years with them, primary care years, the dreaded teen years.
Yeah.
And then I teach them how to man their own care so that I can send them off into the adult world, whether it's at 18 or 21,
Mhm.
right? So it is my absolute favorite population. I like being able to teach them and then see the progress.
Yeah.
Or, we might be in a PDSA cycle, plan, do, study, act, where we talked about it. They're teenagers, they're not doing it. They revert it back to something else. We recorrect, we do it. And ultimately we win at the end because they
Yeah.
get what they need. So
Yeah.
it's just the best.
Yeah. So you had an interesting journey because when did you get your doctorate degree in nursing?
So I was in the NICU for, oh God, it was 15, dating myself, 15 to 17 years. I was in the neonatal intensive care unit. So that is my love. That is
Yeah.
my fill. The tiniest humans, born premature, less than a pound, right?
Yeah.
So I did that for about 15 years. And then I went back to school. I graduate, let's start. So I graduated from A&T. That was my foundation with the BS in biology.
Right.
Go Aggies. Came out, knew right away that I wanted to pursue medicine. So I went right back into nursing at Central
Okay.
by default.
Dipping in the
Oh,
ACC.
dipping.
Let's
Go Eagles, right?
go.
So I graduated in Central 2 years later with another bachelor's in nursing, right?
Okay.
And from there, I built my foundation in the NICU for 15 years,
Okay.
taking leadership roles, creating programs, reunions for the tiniest babies. And then I was like, I've mastered this. There's time for me to do something more. So I had a huge tug to want to do something in the community. I wasn't sure what it looked like yet, but I want to do something. So I jumped on nurse practitioner, right?
Okay.
And I started at Duke.
Okay.
So that is where I did my master's and I received my nurse practitioner degree in 2017. And then while doing that, I was simultaneously teaching nursing students at Duke. So I
Yeah.
was working as a clinical instructor. So always had my hands in a lot of things, right?
Right.
Working in an NICU, doing the studies for my nurse practitioner degree, and teaching at least 2 days a week
Yeah.
with my nurse practitioner students, giving back to the next generation. So when I finished my nurse practitioner degree, it was in pediatrics, everything is going well, but I knew that I still wanted to teach
Mhm.
and touch the community and see patients in clinic. And that the best method to do that was to get my doctorate. So I went back to Duke and continued with my doctorate of nursing practice, and I completed that in 2020. So
2020.
yeah, so
Okay.
that has allowed me to teach, to take leadership roles at Advance, and just do everything that I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
I have never just been a one job type of girl. I've done everything at the same time. And I feel like the pandemic was a blessing in disguise to me
Yeah.
because I got laid off from the primary care clinic that I was at, and it allowed me to go to Advance and do everything that I had had my hands in for the last 5 years.
Well, I'm glad you bring up community
Mhm.
and you had a heart for the community. And before I even go there, shout out to my sister who's a nurse, and she has been for a number of years. And every family needs a nurse.
Every family needs a nurse. Go
Eh,
sister.
Yes, yes, my sister, I love you. And thank you for all that you do for our family.
Yes.
But a doctor and a nurse, you got to have them in the family.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And you are the chosen one.
Yes.
Anytime anybody needs anything.
Yes.
So just
You are
gear
the
up.
chosen
You are the
one.
chosen one.
Yeah, and I
That's
so
okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I have somebody, so, I know here.
Yeah,
So,
somebody else.
yeah.
I'm sure your sister will appreciate that.
So you really enjoy working in the community. This show is Given While Black is about um, uplifting, celebrating people who are doing things in the community that's important. You know, philanthropy, I was at a meeting earlier today, and when you say the word philanthropy, people, they get a little uncomfortable because they think you're always talking about money,
Right.
right? And philanthropy is the love of mankind.
Mhm.
And we really try to demystify it for people because philanthropy doesn't mean that you have to pull out your wallet every time.
No.
It could be something volunteering, obviously.
Right.
So, what was your kind of drive to be this advocate in your community for young people?
So working primarily at Advance has shed the light on everything that I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, my favorite definition of philanthropy is giving of your time, talent, and treasures,
That's right.
the well-being of mankind,
Yeah.
right? To the overall well-being of the people next door, the people down the street, the people around you. And that's what we do at Advance. So being at Advance, it is a community health center, and like most community health centers, they are created with the heart of the community on its heart, right? They have it on its heart. And it's usually a cross-section of the community that they serve, meaning that we tend to look like the community that we serve. So
Yeah.
our brand at Advance is important, right? We look like the people in Southeast Raleigh.
Yeah.
We have a high minority presence in our patients and our staff. So it gives our patients a foundation to come, a safe space, right? That's a beautiful clinic, not feeling like they're there because it's the only place that they can go. We are chosen. They choose
Yeah.
us for those reasons, right? So when they come in and you see them navigate through the healthcare system and you identify their needs, and you mentioned Pinnacle Bank at the beginning. Pinnacle Bank has been a force for us in going through with our mission. Most recently, they helped us supply our food pantry.
Oh, wonderful.
And our food pantry is very simple. And I like that you made the difference kind of between philanthropy and charity. A lot of people
Yeah.
think of it as money, but again, it's time, talent, and treasures,
Yeah.
right? Pinnacle Bank, in partnership with Food Lion, has been gracious enough to fund the project of the food pantry, which is just a lock cabinet in pediatrics. I noticed that with my patients. When I would go in the morning, a lot of times they would be angsty. Patients that would normally give me all the time I needed to complete the visit or never rush you or anything. But if their appointment was in the morning or around lunchtime, the parents were anxious, the kids were like, we got to go, we got to go. And it wasn't until I started asking the children that I realized that they were anxious because they were going to miss breakfast at school,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because of the demographic that we serve,
Yeah.
a lot of our patients are on the free and reduced lunch program,
Okay.
right?
Makes
So
sense.
when they're at my office at 8:15, they haven't had breakfast, right? Because that's not a meal that mom has prepared for,
Right.
oftentimes,
Right.
right? So in my clinic, if I'm taking a little bit longer, they miss breakfast hour at school, so they're not going to eat now until lunch, right?
Got it.
So it took some recognition on my part and some probing, but I finally figured out that that's what the angst was about.
Yeah.
So I took it back to the powers that be at Advance, and I was like, we got to create some type of food shelf. We need to be able to give them something that ties them over until lunchtime.
Yeah.
So Pinnacle and Food Lion Cares were gracious enough to fund that. And with the help of our nutrition program and our medical providers, we put together a healthy alternative to
Yeah.
nothing that includes a lot of nutritious snacks, non-perishables that we can house in that cabinet. And when a family like that comes in, we're able to give it not only to our patient, but everybody in there, including the parent,
Yeah.
right? So it's meeting the need, recognizing the need and meeting the need.
Yeah. And that's so powerful. And I think in our community, we have to pay attention to what's going
You
on,
have to,
right, in the community, because there are needs everywhere,
right?
literally everywhere.
Right.
And if you open your eyes, you can contribute. There's volunteer opportunities. I mean, those they can donate the money to you and you can buy the food, but you still need people to help and administer that
Right.
in a certain way. Do you all accept volunteers to come and help?
We accept volunteers in many capacities.
Okay.
So we have volunteer just recently. We had college students, my daughter was one of them, who came in and helped us get our population registered for my chart over the summer,
Okay.
right? Because again, the providers, the staff, we recognized that that was a care gap, right?
Yeah.
Parents weren't able to, like some of the bigger healthcare centers, see their results or get messages to them efficiently because they just didn't have my chart set up, right? It's not that we don't have it, we offer it too, but our patients just weren't set up for it.
Okay.
So some of the bigger centers would put it out there, let them scan the barcode. If they get it, they get it. But it was important for our patients to have it.
Yeah.
So I often tell people that the providers at Advance differ and our brand at Advance Community differs because we don't just come to work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 7. We do that part. But in addition to that, philanthropy happens.
Yeah.
That is recognizing that your children are anxious because it's after 9 o'clock and they're still at the doctor's office,
Yeah.
right? That is recognizing that I sent you 10 messages and you haven't gotten any of them because you don't simply know how to sign up because
Yeah.
you're not tech savvy. You don't know how to do it. So it's recognizing the need and putting something in that need,
Yeah.
someone in that gap to fill the need. And that's what we did with volunteers this summer.
Yeah.
So that's what makes us different.
So that reminds me of the title that we talked about off air around this particular episode. Medicine can't do it all,
Cannot,
right?
cannot.
And there are gaps that exist, and it takes people like yourself and myself and other people who are going to say, I want to do something to make a difference. We explain the difference between philanthropy and charity, and both of them work hand in hand, but they are also, people say, interchangeable. And the best example I tell people, if somebody is homeless, they don't want a strategy. They don't want a philanthropic strategy.
Right.
They want some food.
Right. You got to meet the need.
Right. You got to meet the needs. And then we can talk about a long-term solution later from a philanthropic standpoint. But I love the fact that Advance is in their community meeting a need.
Meeting the need.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
Every patient, every time. And we're out in the community.
Yeah.
Again, with partners such as Pinnacle, we're able to offer the gala that you spoke of was our Impact Gala.
Okay.
And that's when we recognize and thank our sponsors and kind of do like a fundraising night where we are asking for contributions to help us continue, financial contributions to help continue our mission. And one of those missions is carried out through our mobile clinic. I forgot to mention that. It is a huge part of who we are.
Okay.
We take that bus. We have a beautiful bus that has 2 patient rooms, 1 on each end. And we provide dental exams in the field, right? Where people are, meeting people where they are. We do pediatric visits, adult visits, we do screenings. We take it to the community for people who cannot get there. So as
You
a
do
provider,
festivals and all those kind of things?
so we go to festivals.
Okay, you
Yes,
go to
yeah.
festivals.
So
Okay.
we can be there. Most recently we were at the book pack drive at the YMCA. We have
Yeah.
YMCA right there across the street, that serves the same community that we do.
Yeah.
So the providers, MAs, our staff, we are working out over there right alongside the members in our community. Right.
Yeah.
And it's the most amazing feeling to
Yeah.
walk in and have them recognize me and know that I'm right over here with you.
Yeah.
Right. I don't live over here, but I'm working out over here.
Yeah.
This is where I am here to serve.
Yeah.
So it's great. They recognize that. And with our mobile bus, they see the advanced sign and they know that we have come where they are to offer
Yeah.
them the services that are not only available at the clinic.
Yeah. What's the misconceptions that people have about like Southeast Raleigh? When you hear Southeast Raleigh,
Mhm.
you think of a poorer community, right? Or a
Mhm.
community that doesn't have the resources like some other communities
Mhm.
may have.
Right.
What's the misconception that people um, don't really understand about certain communities like that?
Right. So with the gentrification, Southeast Raleigh is changing. The
Yeah.
landscape is changing. So historically, people identified it as a Black community
Yeah.
or a community with a high Latino population. And it is. It is. But the misconception is that that's a negative thing.
Right.
It is not. Everybody in Southeast Raleigh is not poor.
Yeah.
Everybody in Southeast Raleigh is not uneducated.
Right.
What is true is that it's an underserved community because of those misconceptions.
Yeah.
And what Advanced Community does is with our branding, we go out a representation of that community
Yeah.
and we make sure that they have the education and the resources to derail
Yeah.
all of those common myths and let the people in the community know that you have a safe place. And we are here within the community to offer you those same services, but they're high quality.
Yeah.
It's not where you go because that's where your insurance is accepted. It's where you choose to go
Yeah.
because you know and trust us.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
if nothing else, I want that stigma to go away that we are a free clinic because we are not.
Right. Right.
We are not. We are not a free clinic. We receive some government funding, but we are not funded exclusively by the government.
Yeah.
We have a magnificent CEO, Scott McRae, who has taken it through the roof with the
Yeah.
growth and expansion and just worked really hard with the rest of our admin team to make us self-functional,
Yeah.
right? So we do have those funding sources from the government, but our goal is not to be heavily or solely reliable upon those. We're
Yeah.
going to be self-sustainable. We're
Yeah.
creating our own homestead over in Southeast Raleigh for the
Mhm.
people that live there. And the advancers are advancing.
Yeah.
So we are doing it. And we're doing it for the people who live there.
Advances are advancing.
You
Come
got
on
it.
now.
You got it.
I love that. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York,
Mhm.
and I was grew up in a area called Red Hook,
Mhm.
and it was a pretty rough area. I saw a
Mhm.
lot growing up as a young man. One of my friends who was a police officer there, I met him years ago, and he said we used to give people guns in Red Hook to protect themselves, right?
Hmm.
And of course, I saw violence, but I didn't know it was an economically challenged environment.
Mhm.
And you know why?
Mhm.
Because of community.
Right.
It was because of love.
Right.
And if we take community and love to places where we go,
Mhm.
that's powerful
Right.
because those myths and misconceptions, they can, people won't feel them
Right.
because all they can feel is the love that's coming in communities from places like, Advance.
Right.
So I love that. So I know you didn't just start wanting to help people. It had to start somewhere. Did it start with your parents?
Mhm.
How old were you when you were exposed to philanthropy?
Well, like I said, I am from rural North Carolina, right, which is Selma, North Carolina. So it is also an underserved population. It is Johnston County, also known as JOCO. Probably,
Joco?
yeah. So definitely an underserved population, one of the probably the poorer rural counties in North Carolina. So I remember growing up with my grandmother and my aunt taking my grandmother to during the day, my parents are working, my aunt having to take my grandmother to Chapel Hill. It
Okay.
wasn't called UNC back then. And I just
Yeah.
remember saying, "Oh, well, get ready. We got to go to Chapel Hill today." And it was to manage those chronic conditions like hypertension and diabetes. Because we were driving an hour and 15 minutes away from home, there were no doctors
Yeah.
in rural North Carolina, Johnston County, Selma,
Mm.
that can manage those conditions. We're in a better place now because, there are incentives and different programs to draw those providers to those rural areas, but 30, 40 years ago, that was
Yeah.
not a thing,
Yeah.
right? So just growing up having to, and thankfully, we were blessed, we were able to get to places that we needed to go when we were sick,
Yeah.
but not a lot of people were. There were
Right.
people that just had those conditions and were not managed, right?
Okay.
My family was one of the fortunate ones
Yeah.
that were able to drive to different specialists and get the care that they needed, but that
Mhm.
doesn't always exist for everybody else. And being in school with children who did not have, but
Yeah.
there were no programs. We didn't have backpack drives back then. You either had it provided for you at home or you didn't have
Right.
it, right? Teachers did a really good job and the best they could to make sure you had the things that you needed. But at the end of the day, you had it or you didn't,
Yeah.
right? So growing up, you saw that people used the resources that they had. By the time I was of high school age and college age, you had those programs that are forming. And at some point is I want to be a part of that. I want to
Yeah.
be a part of the difference. And definitely being in healthcare and nursing, you see what is needed and you see how the needs are met and you figure out where your place goes in that
Yeah.
equation.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you recognize pretty early on in life being in a rural place.
Mhm.
Do you think you would have had that same recognition if you grew up in here?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I think that the formative years, they're called that for a reason,
Yeah.
right? That's when we form our ideas. That's when we have questions, and we see how things are problem solved, be it our parents or the government or schools or what have you. We see how things come together and we realize we create in our mind what the means to an end is. And again, they're called formative years because that's when it forms our impression. That's when we form our identity and our
Mhm.
self, and we realize what you want to be when you grow up. Why do you want to be that when you grow up? What can I do to make a difference here? Do I want to be someone that makes a difference?
Yeah.
So they're again formative years, and during my formative years, that was part of my development. So it would be very different if I had grown up somewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you grew up in Selma.
I'm glad I grew up in Selma too. I am a proud Draconian.
And once we left New York, we went to a very rural part of South Carolina,
Mhm,
Darlington,
mhm.
Florence. Are you familiar?
I am not.
You know where Myrtle Beach is,
Absolutely,
right?
I love it.
So that's my reference point. We're probably about an hour and a half from Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Yeah. So Darlington was a very rural place, and going from a child going from Brooklyn
Uh huh.
to a place where they was growing vegetables,
Right.
that was crazy.
Right. And I
Yeah.
remember you speak of growing veg my grandfather was, a farmer.
Yeah.
So I always joke and tell people, like, we were organic before organic was a thing,
Yeah.
right? We didn't
Yeah.
have canned vegetables, like, we lived on the homestead. They grew everything. So we were very fortunate in, our childhood to have that, to have what is so expensive now,
Yeah.
right?
When you think about um, your own personal philanthropy and kind of outcomes, what would you like to see continue in the work that you're doing in the next over the next 3 to kind of 5 years?
In a word, empowerment,
Yeah.
right? So empowerment in the sense that my patients are educated,
Yeah.
right? Educated with resources and information that myself and my peers provide,
Right.
right? Knowing what the resources are and knowing how to navigate and get there, knowing where to get the help that they need. We're not going to change the world overnight. We're not
Yeah.
going to change it in a few years, right? We're not going to make the problems of children not having lunches or breakfast at school go away overnight. But we need to arm them with education and the resources so that the generation tomorrow is a little bit better than today. I'm doing a little bit better than my parents did. My
Yeah.
parents did a little bit better than my grandparents did, right?
Yeah.
So I would like for that to continue. And we need partnerships and sponsors such as Pinnacle Bank,
Yeah.
Lion Cares, and all of our sponsors that helped us with the Impact Night to continue on so that we can
Yeah.
advance our mission. I often say that the best laid plan can be in place, but sometimes it starts with the person planning. And
Yeah.
then sometimes you're like me and you come on the back end and you get in with someone like advanced and under their umbrella. I didn't need to create a plan. I
Yeah.
needed to be in place so I could help advance the mission that advance already had in place.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't need to recreate the wheel. So I would encourage people to find their purpose and go forward. Sometimes your mission is executing, and sometimes it's just putting the plan in place.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we got to recognize the need and we got to move. And I also have students at advanced nurse practitioner students.
Okay.
That's very important. So I encourage people who have arrived at a point in their career, whether it's a nurse practitioner, whether it's a doctor, whatever, a teacher, wherever your role has taken you, when you get there, reach back and help the next generation coming up, because none of us are here forever,
Yeah.
right? And that is a big way that I also choose to give back. Those are volunteer hours. We don't get paid to have students come through,
Okay.
right? And one of my students has to have like 180 hours this semester. Another one has 54. That's in addition to the work that I'm providing each day. So in addition to that, I'm teaching.
Yeah.
And my hope is that in seeing the work that I do, they will have a heart for community service and they will continue it. So I don't have to be present for my work to continue.
Yeah. Are you a good teacher?
I like to think so. I like to think so. I think a good teacher is a good learner,
Yeah.
and I'm learning every day.
Absolutely.
Right. So in that, I'm going to proudly say, yes, I'm a good teacher.
Okay. Would your students say that?
I absolutely do believe so.
I believe they would too. I
I
believe
do believe they would.
So so how, philanthropy can also be a little mentally, emotionally taxing, right? You're giving of yourself so much during the course of the day. I know you like to do yoga. That's probably one of your ways to
Relax and
unwind,
release. Yeah.
relax. What else you like to do?
Spending time with my family. You mentioned my children. I'm married. I have 2 children who are adult children now. 22, getting ready to be 23, and I have a 19-year-old. So my son is 22, my daughter is 19. Just hanging out with them and just enjoying the times with them as they transition into adulthood.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, I probably am very much a helicopter parent. So that is a very busy, still full-time job. They're older, but the needs change, right? So you're still very involved in a lot of coaching that needs to happen there. But I take care of myself. I have a lot of self-care activities. And like you said, that includes yoga. And times when I just have to say, you know what, for an hour, I'm not answering any questions. I'm not reviewing any emails. I am going to exercise. I am an avid Pure Barre
Okay.
pure bar person. Like, I am going to get that in at least every day or every other day. It's a nice cardio workout in addition to my yoga. So self-care,
Yeah.
right? Because the work of philanthropy, it can be very
Yeah.
taxing, and you have to be able to separate from that. You cannot pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
So as much as I give, and that goes for anybody, you have to refuel and refill, right? And that involves self-care. And
Yeah.
those are the things that I choose to do for self-care.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you'll just waste away.
It's hard
Yeah.
sometimes for people to take the time, especially in our society, to do self-care.
It is. You don't
right?
have time.
Yeah, you don't have time for self-care.
You don't have time.
And then you get a diagnosis and you're thinking like,
What could I
wow,
have done different?
what could I have done different?
Right.
Right. I think self-care, I love how you said it. You have to be full yourself, right? Before you can pour out
Right.
to others. So you do like to take your time. And when you go back to work, you recharge.
You are.
You're energized
Right.
to work and you don't get burnt out.
Right. I mean, you have to, burnout is real.
Yeah, it's
right.
real.
Burnout is real, like with and without philanthropy, just doing a job day in and day out. You do get burnout, especially when you're doing it at the top tier, right? And which that's personally what I strive for.
Yeah.
So when you're working at that level and trying to make sure that everybody around you is taken care of, I mean, you'll be sitting there and snapping and in less than stellar mood and not even know why. And it's because you have not taken time to restore.
Yeah.
So I would give that advice to anyone. Make sure you take care of yourself. My children, my daughter's in college now. I'm like, whether it's going to the gym or listening to music, taking a walk, separating from your friends, you got to have time where you allow your mind to just go through and tease everything out and find yourself. So you got to stay true to yourself.
Our children both went to Montessori school,
They
and they were
did.
at the same school
Yeah.
some years ago. Did you like Montessori?
I love Montessori.
Yeah.
Montessori prepares you for life. I
Yeah.
highly 10 over 10 recommend it.
Okay. And I do too. I
Yes.
didn't know at the time. I was like, are they teaching them anything? Are they
Oh
learning?
my goodness. You remember in kindergarten, I remember thinking the stuff was coming home again, might be a little bit of a helicopter parent, but because that children's house where they're 3 to 6. And I remember them coming home and I'm just kind of looking through the stuff and it's like, oh, courtesy. And we
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
pouring today and
Yeah.
cups. And then I'm like, where is the reading? Like, and I remember talking to
Exactly.
the teacher and I remember Miss Barbara at Sterling telling me to trust the process. I'm like, look,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna need these skills to be honed in on, and
Yeah.
nothing could have been said that was truer. Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah, they went to Sterling through 8th grade, and they still
Did they start in kindergarten?
They started in kindergarten.
Wow.
So they did pre-K in Montessori school in Holly Springs. My daughter went to a Spanish immersion Montessori at 4, and then we drove them 35 minutes. So back and forth, drove them there, back home, picked them up, back home. So that's how dedicated we were to the Montessori training. And it is the best thing that we could have done for them as a foundation in early education.
It was funny because our son started going like preschool, right? And he really he enjoyed it, but my daughter, she didn't want anything to do with Montessori.
Interesting.
And so one day she came over because we were there with him, and the kids were pushing the swing, and they were actually doing like a mathematical equation with the swing. And she thought she was so cool, right? She was like, I don't want to go to this school because they're just a bunch of nerds.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And of course, how it worked out, God worked it out where, because that whole lottery system was real. Right.
We didn't get in
standing room only.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so what happened with our son, he didn't get in.
Same.
Yeah, he didn't get in. And I called my wife and I said, honey, Joshua didn't get in. She's like, oh man. That was the year they had the twin scenario.
Right, because that's exactly, you're telling my story.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened
That's what happened?
us. Yes, James, my oldest, did not get in. So we were all geared up and prepared to send him to a rather expensive Montessori school in Holly Springs, like dreading it, cringing at the price. And I will never forget, we were sitting downtown Holly Springs. I was at the pharmacy at the drive-through window on a Friday. He was going to start kindergarten that Monday.
Yeah.
Had gotten everything ready for the school in Holly Springs. And I got a call from Sterling. And they said they had made a mistake with the twins in a lottery.
Yes.
And they had a spot and wanted to know if Jameson won it. I said, what time does he need to be there?
Yeah, exactly. They said you have 24 hours.
And I was like, I'm in. So that's funny. That is funny.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
So then when he got in, Lily was grandfather.
Exactly. And then Mariah was able to get in. And it was funny because I started sending her all these people who went to Montessori school and they, had all this success. And she said, well, I guess I'll try it. And it changed her life completely.
It is. It's amazing.
It changed her life completely.
It is. They've been very successful and they still implement those tools. They're so self-disciplined.
Yeah.
And academically just kind of roll to the beat of their own drum. It was amazing.
Yeah. So I didn't know it was that same year.
That was the same story. That is so funny.
That was pretty cool.
I'm forever grateful for the twins that messed up the lottery.
Too. Miss Barbara,
Yes.
that was Joshua's teacher.
Yeah.
So what I have to do is show our son, your son's picture.
Yes.
And see
if they remember each other.
Remember each other.
Yeah. It seems so long ago, but not. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I really enjoyed our conversation. What would you tell the younger Dr. Patera about philanthropy and giving back? What would you tell her?
Continue to look ahead, right? While still being present with where you are right now. Figure out what the needs are and where your purpose lies.
Yeah.
Right? We got to know where we are in order to know where we're going. Figure out what your mission is. What's important to you, right? And drive towards it. Right? There's much work to do.
Yeah.
Much work to do. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
But you can do your part and make a difference. People will follow. People will join, right? So in yoga, we tend to say, take up space, make yourself big at the end when we're doing Shavasana and relaxing, take up space, spread out.
Yeah.
And that in a nutshell will be the same mission that I give the same message that I give anybody with regards to their mission. Take up space,
Yeah.
right? When you take up space, people see you, people are watching,
Yeah.
and they draw into you, they follow you, and your one person becomes 100 people,
Yeah.
right? And your mission gets carried out.
Yeah.
Long after you're gone, your mission continues because you've invited people in and you've
Yeah.
made a difference.
Well, beautifully said, Dr. Patera, and you have taken up space
Taking it.
as our first guest of
Yay.
our Giving While Black podcast in our Business of Giving studio. So thank you for what you do in the community every single day. And we really appreciate having this conversation. And we talked earlier about you being one of our subject matter experts too. So this will not be the last time you see Dr. Patera.
Yeah.
She's gonna come on and share some of this wonderful knowledge that she has and how we can support our community better. And that's what it's all about. And I love this particular platform because, we have our own foundation. We do a lot in the community, but there's people out here who need to know stories like yours.
Mhm.
And if they can see you do it, they can do it themselves. And
Exactly.
so thank you again for joining us for this particular episode of Giving While Black. And thank you, Pinnacle, for sponsoring this particular conversation with Advanced Community Care, because they are awesome. And I'm just starting to learn more about them. And we are definitely going to support them ourselves. But if you want to learn more about philanthropy, all you have to do is go to John 3:16. It is the best philanthropist I've ever known and met personally. And I guarantee you experience the same. Have a good day, and we'll see you the next time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Patera Foye-Fuller, the Director of Pediatrics at Advanced Community Health Center, where I also serve as a nurse practitioner in the Southeast Raleigh location. We also offer pediatric services at our Holly Springs and Wake Forest locations. We have an amazing team of pediatric providers ready to meet you where you are and deliver quality, compassionate healthcare every patient, every time, in response to the needs of our community. So if you're in search of a new provider, please visit our website at advancedbhc.org or call our office at 919-833-3111 to schedule your appointment.